Hi guys, this is a little bit different video from what I usually do. A few weeks ago I was contacted by an AI plugin company called Retouch for Me. Interesting name, but I thought that I would do a deep dive and just look on YouTube and see what other photographers were saying about them.
I was not excited, but I agreed to do it, and for the last couple of hours I've been playing with this software, and to be perfectly honest with you, it has absolutely blown my mind. I think this is officially my favorite program I have ever used before.
Inner cheek, inner side of her mouth, different things like that, where it's just smoothed everything out so quickly and so cleanly. And then if I turn my healing layer back on, everything just disappears, and it's just, I mean, it does exactly what I would do.
As we all know, I pretty much do all my own retouching, all of my own, cleanup, dodging and burning, all of the fun stuff that is typically the stuff that takes the longest to do in traditional photography, not talking about creative stuff right now. But I heard nothing but good things about it, so I thought, why not? Let's see what can happen. A couple of reasons for my decision. My first reason is that, yes, I do a lot of creative photo art. I'm kind of thinking for 2024, I'm going to move in a bit of a different direction as far as my studio work is concerned. I think I'm going to focus creative work solely for competition, just personal expression. I'm going to really focus on child portraits now for the bulk of my studio work. And the reason for that is because, for me anyway, that's the majority of the income that I earn. Pretty much with everything that I do is always paid for by my child photography. Now, having said that, as we all know, if you are in any area like my area, or any other area, there's a ton of brand new photographers offering mini sessions, right? 20 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. And for me, I could never really offer that because, first of all, my experience and skill set is worth a lot more than $100 for a session with 10 digital images. But I'm going to move in a different direction, and I'm going to do still really beautiful, unique, one-of-a-kind kind of child portraits, but it's going to be more photo-based photography, pure photography, as opposed to anything really super creative. And I'm really excited by this because I've been considering this for quite a while now, especially with how difficult it is to earn a living off of portrait photography in my area. So I'm going to really start branching off into something different. And of course, I'll always be sharing my tips and techniques on YouTube. Let's just talk about these plugins. First of all, if you are doing any kind of batch editing, so if you have, let's say, 10, 15, or 20 images for a session, and really you don't do anything except exposure, color adjustments, and a bit of retouching, oh my gosh, you have to get these. And full disclosure right up front, these are expensive. I was actually shocked at how pricey they were. And I thought, oh, who's gonna buy these? So they gave me, initially they gave me 3 plugins that they suggested that I try. 2 of them would definitely form part of my workflow. The third one is like a color match, and I think that one would be beneficial for finishing off more creative work that perhaps you didn't save a layered stack, so you didn't know how, or you didn't have the recipe for how you did your color grading. The color match one I think would be good. I'm not going to demo that one today because I was really more interested in how the workflow could benefit straight photography for general retouching, batch editing, and then go, right? I think the main thing that people want these days are tools that are going to really, really streamline your retouching and speed that stuff right out of the door, right? Especially for those of you that are doing digital files and you're not printing. This is like a way to do a shoot and deliver the images, if not the same day, definitely the next day. There's a lot of tips and tricks to make these work well, but overall, my general impression is amazing. So let's get into it. I'm going to run you through a series of 5 or 6 totally different images that just to show you a range of what this can do, okay? This is straight out of Adobe Camera Raw. All I've done is I've tweaked the colors because, as you can imagine, it was just lime green and yellow, and I hate that stuff. So I reduced most of the yellows and the greens, and this is what it looks like. Now, this was shot on my Canon. As you can see up here, it's a Canon file, but this was shot with my 200 f2. So as always, the beautiful bokeh, all that other stuff. Now, this image looks really nice straight out of the gate, but if we zoom in, you can see that she does have a little bit of acne, some bumps, you know, as most teenagers do, stuff like that, okay? So I felt like because this image is so pretty, just straight out of Adobe Camera Raw, that this was a prime candidate for, you know, if you had a series. Because the power of these particular plugins, AI plugins that I truly believe in, is the ability to batch edit. Now, you know, if you're like me and you do way more creative stuff, then this probably isn't going to do a whole lot. I mean, let me step back a second from that, because actually I think it'll be a really, really strong platform from which to extend your editing, right? But if you're looking to do batch stuff, if you're looking at delivering, you know, 35 images to somebody, this, honestly, I have never seen anything this good. Now, this video is sponsored by Retouch for me. I do have an affiliate link below, so if you want to invest in these, you're going to get 20% off. They have several plugins. I would have liked to have had the portrait volumes, which is more of a dodging and burning, dramatic dodging and burning, but I didn't get access to that one. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of a workaround in my edits to show you how to achieve that without that particular plugin. So the first thing that I did here was I just very easily came in with a smoke paintbrush and just kind of got rid of all those dark spots, right? And then I just did a radial gradient just like this. I sampled a color within this particular image, and then I brushed it off of our subject. And then I stamped our layer, and then I ran Retouch for me. I ran my action because I did create an action. I'll show you how to do that. And this here, I'm just going to show you. So all I'm going to do is put a white layer in between that one. So you can see what they determined was necessary to get rid of a lot of her acne. So let's just turn this on and off. So you can see that it did a dang good job, right? Like, to have a one click where you don't have to do anything, but that's not it. Wait until you see the dodge and burn. Now, this dodge burn is not like the portrait volume plugin that they offer. This one is just to get rid of shadows and highlights that you don't want. Now look at this. Do you see this? It is mind blowing. And so now we have an incredible, absolutely presentable image that you could sell, right? And then the only other thing that I did was I increased my levels here. I'll just zoom out, and that's all. So I went in to my levels, did some adjusting, and this is the final result. Now, don't tell me that you wouldn't want to deliver this to your clients. Absolutely incredible. I'm going to come over here to this image. This is an old image that I shot several years ago, and we're just going to do that. And so essentially, this is what it looked like straight out of the gate, and I want to show you this. So this, again, is a Canon file shot with my 85 1.2, but I think I shot this at like 3.8, something like that. So it wasn't quite wide open, but see how soft this image is. So I ran it through Photo AI first because I really wanted to sharpen it up because, gosh, it was just not sharp. And then I did the same thing, so I'll zoom out. I did just a gradient like that because I wanted to brush it off of her. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to feather that out because a lot of times when it does weird things like that, when you know you've masked it off, you just have to adjust the feather. So that's what I did with that. Then I stamped it, And then here we are again. Let's zoom in. I'll turn everything off. So here again, you can see all of the healing that this AI did. Okay, let's turn it all back on. And you can see just very minute little details of the healing brush. But wait till you check out the dodge burn. What the heck? So let's zoom out. And this is zero skin softening, you guys. Like, I have done no frequency separation. This is just the dodge burn action. Oh my gosh, batch edit all the time. This is remarkable. Okay, let's come over here. So this is another old image that I shot when I lived in Calgary, and I loved shooting in this bedroom. This is the same location I shot Olivia in. It was a 10 by 10 bedroom, natural light with a V-flat. That was all, okay? I would completely style this little tiny space and come up with the most wonderful images. Now, I did the same thing. I added you can see that this is rotated because I did that last step up here, and it kind of affects the whole thing all the way through, but it'll make sense in a minute. So I did the whole thing with another vignette with I do this all the time, you guys. It just transforms images, makes them soft and dreamy. And then I stamped it, and then I went ahead, let's zoom in, with my healing brush. So you can see all the freckles she had on her arms. It got rid of kind of some of the big ones, and then the dodge burn. Look at this. You don't even need skin softening. Like, you do not need to do frequency separation because this is mind-blowing. It also does the same thing to the background, so it softens everything. Next one, I ran my chemistry action. This is Drama Queen. Added some highlights and a little bit of color to it, and then I cropped it with generative fill, and this is what I got. And that, you guys, took me all of maybe 5 minutes. Yeah, let's move on. So here's a dark image, and I do want to zoom in so that you can see Karen's face. So she had a lot of texture, a lot of bumps and lumps, things like that, right? And so let's just zoom out. This again, shot in the same location, that 10 by 10 bedroom. So you don't need a studio to create amazing portraits. So then I went ahead and I did, if we zoom in, you'll understand why. I did photo AI again because I really needed to sharpen up. You can see with that darn Canon how not sharp it was, but photo AI completely sharpened it up. So now it's like, oh, it's like a real file. And then I added another one of those gradient kind of vignettes. And this here is our, let's just take a look. This is our healing. So you can see the healing. I mean, this image was over sharpened. It's definitely over sharp, but it got rid of all those little dots. And now let's see the dodge and burn. So let's zoom up. It looks so much better. It's not perfect, but really, do you expect anything to be? And then what I did here, I have this new dodge burn action that I created, and it's super powerful. You can see that. And if you're interested in that, just let me know. I haven't got it up for sale yet, but I will do a full tutorial on it if you are. But this is something that I needed to create because if you don't want to do all of the hard work that it takes to dodge and burn, you need something that's a little easier. This one does the work. And then I added my lips and my eyeshadow right here. So we'll just zoom out so you can see this, right? So this is my lipstick and my eyeshadow, stamped layer. And then you know what I decided to do? If you look here, it still looks a little rough in the, you know, the details and the highlights and the shadows and stuff like that. So you know what I decided to do? I thought, okay, I'm going to stamp this, which I did here in layer 7. And then I went ahead and I ran the retouch for me action again. And you know what? Now it's freaking perfect. And wouldn't you want to deliver that? Like, okay, that took me, maybe 8 minutes. But honestly, if you turn it all the way off and start from the beginning, that is pretty amazing. So let's take a basic one of a couple little girls. Another old image shot on my 200 f2.0, right? But what I did was I started with another radial gradient just to soften up the environment, and then I stamped it, and then I ran Retouch for me. So let's just zoom in. So this is the spot reducer. You can't really see anything. And again, look at this. This is F2, and look how freaking not sharp this is. I had so many issues with my Canons. I'm so glad I'm with Sony now. Okay, so this was our spot reducer. You don't really see much, but look at the dodge burn. Look what it did to all the shadows here, all over here. Look at this. Like what, right? So that really helped this image. And then I stamped it, and then I did my special dodge burn layer again, and you can see that that drastically changed our dodging and burning from kind of a flat image to this. But I have to zoom out again because I want you to see this. And then all I did was run it through exposure, and also I did a little bit of sharpening, and then I inverted the mask and I brushed that onto the girls because I felt like the girls were still a little bit too dull. You could reduce this down a little bit so that it's more seamless, and then go ahead and run whatever action you want. Okay, in this portion, I'm going to teach you how to make your own action. So over here, you're going to see that you have your Retouch for Me panel. Okay, so these are all the plugins that are available. I only have Heal, Dodge, and Burn and Portrait Volumes. So you don't really want to use this. This won't work for actions. So if any of you are familiar with making actions, then you know that all you have to do is choose whatever group you want it to go in. So for this one, you can see here, I've already got one here. Just click plus, and that's going to open up a new one. Let's just call it Retouch. So as soon as you hit enter, it's going to start recording, which you can see from this red light. Now you want to duplicate your layer. You want to come up to filter. You want to go to Retouch for Me, and we're going to start with Heal. Okay, we're going to let it run. When it opens up, I just leave it at auto, and I leave it at 100%, just like that. I don't really worry about, oh, it's a half-length portrait or a full-length portrait or a headshot, anything like that. And always make sure you have Make Mask clicked, and then just hit apply. Once it does that, okay, what you need to do now is you have to do your Shift, Option, Command E, and stamp your layer. Okay, once you do that, now you can run Retouch for Me, Dodge, Burn. It's going to run it the same way. You're going to want to make sure you have Soft Light layer turned on, and it's going to do all the heavy lifting. Click Apply. Once it comes in, it's going to have this gray layer. You have to change the blend mode to Soft Light, just like that, and then your action is complete. Now you do have the option of merging these two, creating a group like that, and then pressing stop. And once you press stop, your action is ready. So let me just turn this off, and you're going to see when I zoom in, I'm going to click play now on that retouch one, and it's going to do all of that work in an instant. Additionally, I'll show you now that if you're in Bridge, you can actually export, batch export with an action, which is absolutely amazing for your workflow. Let's just take a look at these. Let's zoom in. So obviously this is, you know, a lovely image, and she doesn't have a lot of blemishes. You can see here that it removed a couple, and then the dodge, burn as well. Okay, so again, you can do your batch edit, and I'll show you that right now. So now let me show you how I export images from Bridge into Lightroom and I apply the action that I made. So I'm just going to use these 3 images as an example, and I'm going to go to Tools and I'm going to go to Image Processor. And so when this opens up, I like to save my files as a PSD, and then you can run action. You can choose the action that you have here, and I just have under Basic Retouch, and I'm just going to click Run. And when it imports them, it's going to run those 2 plugins on top of the image, and that's what I love about this, because then you can just go ahead and apply anything else and you're essentially done. But I'll just show you how much I love this, especially for those non-creative portraits that you just want to get in and out as quick as you can. Okay, so these were batch run, and I'm just going to zoom in so you can see this. So this is our 72-year-old client, and I'm just going to turn off the dodging and burning. Do you see how that corrected so much? And then this is the spot removal. And then combined, we have this. And isn't that just like, oh my gosh. Let's look at another one. Let's zoom into her. Okay, so this is after. This is our dodging and burning. So you can see it softened a lot of those shadows, which is amazing. And then this was our spot removal. So it removed some age spots and other little spots that she wouldn't want. And this is our result. And let's look at this one. So again, it can't remove hairs. You have to do that yourself. But this is our dodging and burning. Look at how it softened everything so naturally, especially on somebody this age. And then this just gets rid of all the little bops and bloops. But yeah, I can't even tell you how wonderful this is for mini sessions or non-creative image editing, just basic retouching. Highly recommend it. So I was just about to edit these 3 in this series anyway, so let's jump into Photoshop. These are my Adobe Camera Raw tweaks. Now, I'm super excited for this. Again, like I told you before, you could do a batch edit, but because I want to manipulate other aspects of the images first, much like I did in the first part of this video, I'm just going to go ahead and make those environmental changes, and then from there I can run the retouch for me and do the final color grading or what have you. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did in the other 2, just because, you know, if you see all of this stuff here, it's kind of, or it's very distracting, right? So just duplicate your layer. Now for this technique, you can use a paintbrush, or you can use a mixer brush, or whatever you want. For this one, I'm just going to use a plain soft brush, and I'm just going to quickly really soften these transitional lines, because even, you know, if we apply that colorful vignette, it's still going to show through because the lines are just way too strong. So just come in with a basic brush and you can just soften them, just so that there's no hard transitions. Don't worry about going over your subject too terribly much, because you can always come in and just mask that off if you want. It's your choice. So just something like that. It doesn't have to be too crazy. And I'm just going to come in because I know that I painted over her arm just a smidge over here. So I'm just going to mask that back off. Okay, so essentially that's all that I really wanted to do for this. I'm just making sure I don't have any on her face. And I'm just, you could do the transition, but I'd like to keep the idea of the snow. But you can always change that at a later date. If you wanted to, you could just come in and just soften it. just so that it blends. Something like that. Before and after. So if I didn't have to make those direct changes, then obviously it would have been easier for me to just run the Retouch for Me action straight out of Bridge. But when you have to make changes like this, it makes it a little bit more difficult. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that to the other two images, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've gone through all three images and just got rid of that busy background. I have created a new action using the healing tool, the dodge and burn, as well as the portrait volumes. Now, portrait volumes is actually more of a true dodging and burning. The dodge burn layer really is a retouching thing to get rid of shadows, which I love it. But I've created an action so I can just do this in one click, and we'll start with this image, and here we go. Okay, so let's just zoom in and you can see the results. So considering that that took under a minute to render, honestly, you guys, okay, let's just turn these off. So this is our first one, and it was just our usual retouch. If I turn this one, no, I actually had to, in making the action, I had to merge that layer. So anyway, this is the healing brush. This is the dodge and burn. And you can see, especially if you look under her eye here, you can see the shadow work that it got rid of. And, you know, the nice thing is, because it's non-destructive, you can just reduce the opacity if, let's say, you wanted to bring back some of the realism in her face. Now, this is the global dodge and burn. It's pretty heavy-handed, but what I have found works best is just reduce it down to around 50%. And then it just gives your image that little extra structure. And do I recommend this one? Yeah. I think that, you know, these three particular plugins in combination with each other will really streamline your workflow and allow you to do batch edits and not spend a million hours in post-processing for regular portrait photography. This is absolutely a game changer for regular portrait photography. I mean, do some mini sessions, get out there and just make some money.